There's no cap on there.
It's not gonna work if you don't put the cap on there.
We're gonna have like a SEMA van.
It's beautiful.
You're gonna have a giant mess.
Welcome back to Brothers Fab and Adventure.
Today we're going to be painting the frame of the Astro van behind us here
With black Rustoleum and show you how to customize it with blue pearl and blue flake and to make it kind of a metallic.
And if you stick around to the end, we'll have a little update for you about the motor on the van. And we're also going to do a little experiment for you to show you why we do the paint the way that we do it. Hopefully you guys enjoy.
And we'll take you through it.
Once you crack the can, you want to get it all stirred up real well before you start pouring it and getting your mixture, because there's usually some settlement in the can. So make sure you scrape the bottom and the walls real good.
We got the rusty metal primer here.
We're gonna pour 10 ounces.
Now that we got 10 ounces of rusty metal primer in there, time to add the acetone. We'll do 10 ounces of that also. Then the last thing is about half cap of Japan dryer. That looks good. Boom. Just want to make sure and mix it up really good, and then let it sit for about 10 minutes or so.
Before we go ahead and put any paint in this gun, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting some adjustments done so it doesn't make a mess. Primarily, we need to get the pressure set. So we're aiming for about 30 PSI at full wide open throttle. And it looks like we're about there. So you can see why you'd want to do that without painting the gun, because paint would go flying everywhere and you would have a giant mess. This is how you want to attach your cup to your gun when you're using this disposable liner system, so you don't pour it out all over the place trying to get them connected. Got to do some hose management here. Now that we got the air pressure all set on the gun and the paint's all mixed and ready to go, we're going to start adjusting the other parameters of the gun, which is going to be your material and your fan. Ideally, we're looking for about a 5 to 7 inch fan from about 5 to 7 inches away spray distance. You're just going to tweak those two adjustment knobs until you get what you're after, basically. Yeah. Yeah. Generally, it's best to start with the hard to reach areas and weird corners and stuff where you might get too much material built up if you try to hit it later, because it's hard to get the right angle on it and distance and all that. So we're going to start with that stuff.
Hard to get in here.
Yeah, that's why we start there, so the material doesn't get too built up. You might need another hit right in there. Yeah, like where this bolt is. Challenging piece to spray because there's so many angles to hit.
Got the first layer all done, so Jason's gonna go ahead and put a second layer on there. It's looking pretty good here. Every once in a while we'd move the back of the frame down so we can get some of these hard to reach areas. Excited to see what it looks like when we put the black on there. It's time to mix the black. If you look at the sky here, it's a little dark and cloudy. Gotta have a light to even mix our paint here. We're gonna do a 4-3-1, which will be 12 ounces of black, 9 ounces of acetone, and 3 ounces of hardener. So we got our 4 parts of paint, and we're gonna add our 3 parts of acetone, which will take us to 21 ounces total. So now it's time to put the hardener in there. It has isocyanates in it, so you don't want to breathe that. So I'm gonna put my mask on for this part.
All right, so for this part, we are after 3 ounces, which is gonna take us to a total of 24. You want to mix this up real good, and we're also going to add half to 1 cap of Japan dryer to the mix as well to help it dry faster. We're all ready to pour it into the gun, get our fan pattern set, and start spraying.
I haven't got the cap on there.
Oh, the caps.
There's no cap on there.
It's not going to work if you don't put the cap on there. You're going to have a giant mess. In typical fashion, we're not going to get this paint job done with daylight, unfortunately. Promise one of these days we'll get a good paint job with full daylight for you guys, but we'll try to make the best of it as we can anyway. Also, another lovely thing is it's been raining, but fortunately the pop-up there has been doing pretty good. We did get a little bit of rain on it, but we just blew it off with the air hose and it's had some time to dry. So, wish us luck.
This is pretty fucked here. This is definitely pretty fuckered. We got water on the paint. Bad news.
As you guys saw, we got absolutely hammered by the weather there. We're like holding up the tarp and there was still water coming through and getting onto the frame. So we abandoned ship probably like 3/4 of the way through. And we thought we were gonna have to totally call it for this paint session because it just wasn't letting up. But we waited it out. I came back out, checked it. It didn't look real bad. None of the water had affected the paint. So I went ahead and kind of blew it off with the air hose. And then whatever water droplets were left, I kind of dabbed out with a blue shop towel, which is basically like pretty much like a tack cloth. And it still felt sticky, which for us is basically the parameter of if it's ready for the next coat. Generally what we do is like a finger test, and you basically pick somewhere inconspicuous. If you're painting a whole car, you'd probably do like the tape on your masking or whatever. You touch your finger to it like this, and if it's still sticky but paint's not coming off on your finger, it's time to do the next coat. And that applies for 2K clear on top of this Rustoleum as well. You want to use a glove so you don't put the oils from your finger on there.
I guess we're going for it. Wish us luck.
Getting the second coat of black on, looking pretty good here.
Well, that's the fun part.
This is the fun part of the paint job where we finally get to the metallics. What I did is I mixed 1 part color blender here, SMR 3500, with 1 part urethane grade reducer, SMR 870. The reason that we like to use this Intercoat is that it suspends the particles, the pearls and the flakes, better than if you mixed it into your clear coat, and it's also a little bit less runny. We're gonna mix 2.5 teaspoons of this mica powder, which is also basically what a pearl is. There's actually a lot of different kinds of pearl, but kind of as a generalization, you can say mica powder is like a pearl. So we're gonna mix 2.5 tablespoons of this into the Intercoat mix.
Well, that doesn't help. Fucking grips is annoying as shit.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, holy grippage.
I don't really care. The thing is jacked up. Yeah, that's not working so well. There's still paint everywhere. We're gonna have like a SEMA band. What a fucking mess.
That was about an absolute disaster. The disposable liner system was leaking out, and if we were painting a real car, it would be totally a disaster. It would be destroyed. Luckily, we're painting a frame, so we can let it fly. But if you ever encounter that problem, don't just let it fly. It'll ruin your paint job. We're going to do another coat of Intercoat. We're going to do about 1 tablespoon of the pearl, and then we're going to do another 1.5 teaspoons of flake in this one, and we're going to shoot it with a 2.0 tip so we don't have to worry about it clogging the gun, because it's got to have a greater than 1.5 tip for this .008 flake. We're going to go with 1.5 of this flake here.
Looks even better with the flake, man. You look so good, man. Jeez. That's crazy.
That's not good. That's
Huh.
past our air dryer.
That's definitely not great.
Gonna do one more coat. This time it's gonna be just the flake, and it's 2 tablespoons.
Oh, sparkles everywhere.
Time for clear coat. So we're using this SpeedoKote SMR 1150, and we're mixing it 4 parts of this to 1 part of the clear activator, and it's the medium activator. We just gave it the tack test with our glove. No paint was coming off, so we're ready to start spraying clear as soon as I throw my mask on. We got 1 coat of clear on, so we're going to get another one on there now. We just want to make sure that we bury all the flake and metal particles so that they're not exposed to the elements and they don't get oxidized. This right here is a prime example of why you want to put 2K clear over metallic particles. Ironically, the example is where clear coat has failed. But you can clearly see the UV fading and degradation that it has caused. In certain lights, it looks like a lot lighter reddish purple color than the blue purple that's all protected underneath the clear coat. On the side. We finished up pretty late last night, as often happens when we're doing paint. It seems like we don't seem to get an early enough start. This is going to be the first time any of us has seen this in the daylight. We had never sprayed this color before. We had no idea what it was going to look like, so it was a complete mystery until we started spraying it. This is going to be the first time she ever gets to see it, and we figured it'd be fun to film the reveal and get her reaction, so here we go.
All right, close your eyes.
No, I'll fall down. It's beautiful. I see where you had a little drip
action.
A lot of drip action.
Well,
actually.
mostly in places where you won't see it too bad, but
Yeah. Oh, it's gorgeous.
it's
You
gonna
need
be it's gonna be even more awesome when the sun starts hitting it. It's barely coming into the sun right now.
Now that we got the frame all painted and ready, we had a chance to run down to the machine shop and talk to them about all the parts that we had. And they're sitting here because they told us they were mostly destroyed. The heads were both cracked in a couple places, one there, and some of the jackets were cracked. They also said the valve seats were hammered on, so they'd be a pain to deal with. The cam heat treated itself, as you can see by all the blue marks in here. On the crank, all the journals were totally messed up, not savable, they said. I'm sure you could probably weld them and regrind it, but that's a lot more money again. And onto the rods, they basically were destroyed and warped around too. So pretty much a lot of the parts were unusable, and the only thing that we could use would be the block, and it would take a lot of machine work and money to make work. Long story short, we looked into the cost differences, and it was pretty close to the GM remanufactured one, so we ended up going that route instead of getting all the machine work and it taking a long time for that to happen.
And all the time it would take us to...
Yeah, plus the time it would take for us to build it, the couple $100 difference or whatever it was,
just
made sense for us to just get the GM remanufactured one. Life stays exciting. If you can't tell, I got a big hole here because the first trip down on dropping the motor off, I had to replace the fuel pump on my truck. On the way back from picking it up, lost a front U-joint on my front drive shaft, so it's been fun.
We heard it starting to go at the GM dealership.
Decided to stay off the highway and was hoping it'd last until home. It didn't last, ended up losing the cap and it making a whole bunch of noise. Luckily, we were right in front of a tire shop and borrowed some tools and took the drive shaft off so we can get home and get it fixed.
Another little update on the van for you guys. I got a four-wheel drive transfer case for it. It was listed on Marketplace as a factory new old stock, and I went down to pick it up. I noticed some things that were pretty much a giveaway to me anyway, that this wasn't new old stock. First off, there's no paint on it. There's a bunch of like wire wheel and brush marks on it from cleaning, and to me that indicates that it has been remanufactured and it's not new old stock. It seems pretty good, seems nice and tight and smooth, and we got a fairly good deal on it. We got that part of it going. We also got ourselves a budget lift kit for the van, so that'll be cool to see.
The last van update is we dropped the transmission off at the tranny shop to get bench tested, so we'll see what the results of that are.
And that's going to be all for this time. Stay tuned for the next video where we'll show you exactly what you get when you add pearl and flake directly into Rustoleum, as opposed to top coating like we did the frame here.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.
We appreciate you. Until next time on Brothers Fab and Adventure.